Is punishment an effective behaviour modification strategy in children? Hi, I'm Siobhan Petrie, and in this session we're going to explore the link between corporal punishment and youth externalising behaviour in a Chilean sample population. Many studies over the years have shown the negative impact of corporal punishment on children's development. Pioneering research has been conducted over the past couple of decades by Elizabeth Gershoff, Susan Batinsky, Joan Durant and others. But perhaps the most prominent researcher in this area is American Murray Strauss, who across many studies found strong links between corporal punishment and lowered self-esteem, feelings of powerlessness and more aggressive tendencies towards others. Curiously though, despite this vast body of research, it is still considered an acceptable form of punishment in many countries across the globe. So let's have a look at this study conducted in 2012 in Santiago, Chile. We know that research shows that there is an association between corporal punishment and negative outcomes for children. However, other studies show that positive parenting practices may offset their negative effects. But we know that parenting practices are highly influenced by cultural and societal norms. But little research has actually been conducted in Latin American populations, hence this study. So the aim was really to explore the link between the high prevalence of parental use of corporal punishment in Chilean homes and reported levels of youth externalising behaviour. The researchers identified two hypotheses. One, that the frequent use of parental corporal punishment would be associated with greater levels of youth externalising behaviour. And two, that parental warmth will moderate the impact of corporal punishment on youth externalising behaviour. Let's have a look at how they designed the research. So it was a cross-sectional design, so it analysed data from a sample population at a specific moment in time. It was descriptive in that it assessed the prevalence of externalising behaviour within a population. It used cross-sectional data, surveys and correlational methodologies to assess the degree of the relationship between the variables. Participants in the study were taken from the Santiago longitudinal study. There were 919 participants from low to middle socioeconomic status neighbourhoods. The mean age for the study was, of the analytical sample was 14.3 years with a standard deviation of 1.5. 51.5% were males and 48.5% were females. Participants completed a 2-hour questionnaire administered by a psychologist which looked at a range of individual and family characteristics. The researchers used 5 independent variables relating to the areas of corporal punishment and positive parenting to test the influence on the dependent variable, externalising behaviour. This was measured using the Externalising Youth Self-Report Problem Scale, whereas the independent variables in terms of the use of corporal punishment was a 1-item questionnaire, youth self-report. The warmth of parents was a 9-item questionnaire, youth self-report, and family involvement was a 5-item questionnaire, youth self-report. In terms of the results, while the study found that while externalising behaviour scores were higher than the US, the prevalence of corporal punishment was lower in the Chilean sample. The results were consistent with the research in that there was a positive correlation between parental corporal punishment and youth externalising behaviour. There was also a positive association between the use of corporal punishment and increases in externalising youth behaviour. In fact, even when corporal punishment was used infrequently, externalising behaviour increased. And finally, there was an association between positive parenting practices and decreases in youth externalising behaviour. The results were consistent with the literature in this field, but for a Latin American sample population, hence contributing to the potential universality of the relationship between corporal punishment and externalising behaviours across countries. It adds further weight to social learning theories and highlights the need for policy changes and public awareness campaigns. The operationalisation of corporal punishment was a limitation as it did not include all forms of parental violence. Further studies could look at broadening the operationalisation of corporal punishment. The sample only included children from low to middle socioeconomic neighbourhoods and therefore does not accurately reflect the broader population. Further studies could include participants from higher socioeconomic neighbourhoods to check for consistency in results across that demographic characteristic. Single reporter bias was also a limitation, as both the predictor of corporal punishment and the outcome are reported on by the same person, leading to the potential of underestimating the frequency of corporal punishment. Further studies would benefit from gathering information about corporal punishment from both the parents and the youths to reduce the potential of single reporter bias. And finally, the cross-sectional design of the study may make it difficult to generalise the findings to the population. And it makes it impossible to determine the causation or temporal associations between the two variables. Given the two-way nature of parent-child relationships, it is possible that the parent's behaviour is a reaction to the negative youth behaviour. Further studies which test the effectiveness of campaigns that raise awareness of the negative effects of parental corporal punishment on children and adolescent behaviour would be of benefit, particularly in countries where corporal punishment is still viewed as an acceptable way of moderating child and adolescent behaviour. Further studies could also explore the effect of positive parenting practices, training interventions on youth self-reported externalising behaviour. So that takes us to the finish of the presentation of the research paper, Corporal Punishment and Youth Externalising Behaviour in Santiago, Chile. I hope this has given you a greater understanding of the research in this area, particularly as it relates to the Latin American population. Thank you.